UFO hearings just happened over in America. You can find them online. Today we had two fighter jet pilots, Ryan Graves and Commander David Fravor, along with David Grusch, a former defense and intelligence official who served at the highest levels, coming forward to blow the whistle on their experiences and their evidence about the reality of a non-human intelligence. They did this within Congress under oath. I don't know if that blows your mind, but sometimes we've just got to realize, this is happening right now today. I've broken that content down into 8.5 minutes worth of content, just to keep life really simple for us. I'm about to press play, but before I start, I just want to ask you this question. Would you lie under oath? Because these three men today took an oath. And if you do lie under oath in this setting, what are the consequences? 7 years in prison. A reputation permanently damaged. Would you do it? If you just wanted to spread lies, if you just wanted to sell books, would you go into a congressional hearing and lie, or would you avoid such a situation? It's a rhetorical question, but I hope you get the point. I think that's all the introduction that we need. Let's get to the content.
Has the U.S. government become aware of actual evidence of extraterrestrial, otherwise unexplained forms of intelligence? And if so, when do you think this first occurred?
I like to use the term non-human. I don't like to denote origin. Keeps the aperture open, both scientifically. Right. Certainly, like I've discussed publicly previously, 1930s.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General, and some of which to the intelligence committees. I actually had the people with the firsthand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General.
Mr. Grusch, as a result of your previous government work, have you met with people with direct knowledge or have direct knowledge yourself of non-human origin craft?
Yes, I personally interviewed those individuals.
Mr. Grusch, are you aware, do you have direct knowledge, or have you talked to people with direct knowledge that there are satellite imagery of these events?
That was one of my primary tasks at NGA, since we process, exploit, and disseminate that kind of information. I've seen multiple cases, some of which, to my understanding, and of course I left NGA in April, so that's my information cutoff date. But I personally reviewed both what we call overhead collection and from other strategic and tactical platforms that I could not even explain prosaically. And I have a degree in physics, by the way, as well.
Do you have direct knowledge, or you've spoken to people with direct knowledge that this imagery applies to crash sites, crash imagery?
I can't discuss that in an open session.
Okay.
Has any of the activity been aggressive, been hostile in your reports?
I know of multiple colleagues of mine that got physically injured. And the activity, and I got
by UAPs or by people within the federal government?
Both.
Okay,
yeah.
So there has been activity by alien or non-human technology and or beings that has caused harm to humans.
I can't get into the specifics in an open environment, but at least the activity that I personally witnessed, and I have to be very careful here because they tell you never to acknowledge tradecraft, right? So what I personally witnessed, myself and my wife, was very disturbing.
You've stated that the government is in possession of potentially non-human spacecraft. Based on your experience and extensive conversations with experts, do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred.
I just want to make a point here very quickly. If someone was to ask you that, has the US government, based on the information that you have available to you, has the United States government made contact with a non-human intelligence? And if you didn't have any evidence, if you didn't have anything to say, what would you say? No. And by the way, in the longer cut of this, there are a lot of instances where all three of the witnesses say that they don't have that information. So you've got to ask yourself, why does David Grusch say it like that? Why does he say that he can't talk about that in an open session? It implies that he has seen something that's made him believe that we have established contact with a non-human intelligence. Sometimes we have to just poke at the things that kind of aren't being said to really reveal the implication of what it is. Now, I'm not here to tell you that from now on we all have to believe that we've made contact. I'm just here to tell you that that looks like somebody who's seen something that he believes indicates that we've made contact.
If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries, yeah.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
Mr. Grusch, I might have asked this before, but I want to make sure. Do you have any personal knowledge of someone who's possibly been injured working on legacy UAP reverse engineering?
Yes.
Okay. How are they injured?
I can't get into specifics, but you can imagine assessing an unknown unknown. There's a lot of potentialities you can't fully prepare for.
Mr. Grusch, why is it that you refer to the phenomenon as non-human intelligence? Why deviate from the basis of extraterrestrial life?
I think the phenomenon is very complex, and I like to leave an open mind analytically.
So, and you may or may not be able to answer my last question, and maybe we get into a skiff at the next hearing that we have, but who in the government, either what agency, sub-agency, what contractors, who should be called into the next hearing about UAPs, either in a public setting or even in a private setting? And you probably can't name names, but what agencies or organizations, contractors, et cetera, do we need to call in to get these questions answered, whether it's about funding, what programs are happening, and what's out there?
I can give you a specific cooperative and hostile witness list of specific individuals that were in those.
And how soon can we get that list?
I'm happy to provide that to you after the hearing.
Super, thank you, and I yield back.
Okay, so let's just be really clear about what was being said and in some cases implied here. The United States government, or at least a faction within the United States government, within the Department of Defense, knows that non-human intelligence exists. That's what he's saying. I'm not here to tell you that. That's what he's saying, okay? And most importantly, right, because I know there's a lot of you, and me as well, who will be thinking, that's all very well, this is someone saying these things, but until we have tangible realities, until we see these things, until they're brought to light, you can't believe any of it, and I would not judge you for thinking that. I think that every single day I have to remind myself, hey, this is just people talking. And until we see the things that this person's claiming to have seen, which he's talking about under oath, at the risk of going to prison, then we won't know what's real. But here's the great thing, right? Immediately after this session, what is he going to do? He's going to provide a detailed list of the people that these people need to speak to. Now, this next section of clips is a compilation of moments where David Grusch talks about the threats that he's received since stepping forward and blowing the whistle and all of this stuff. You got to ask yourself, why would he accuse people from within the defense and intelligence community of these threats if he wasn't facing them? Why would he do this under oath? Why would he talk about this stuff? Why would he provide names of people to go after for the congressmen and women and the senators if this was all a lie? Again, I'm not saying that because of that logic, this is therefore true. What I'm trying to do is accentuate the point that it's a very strange thing to put yourself in this situation and to talk about these things. And with that context, let's play these clips and just ask yourself, do you believe David Grusch? And if you think, and if for a moment you entertain the idea that this could be true, that someone could experience these threats, why? Why would people, why would government bodies, why would groups of people, why would aerospace companies threaten somebody trying to reveal this information? What is so secret? What is so sensitive that it justifies this kind of behavior? Let's have a look at the clips.
Have you faced any retaliation or reprisals for any of your testimony or anything on these lines?
Yeah, I have to be careful what I say in detail because there is an open whistleblower reprisal investigation on my behalf, and I don't want to compromise that investigation by providing anything that may help provide somebody information. But it was very brutal and very unfortunate, some of the tactics they used to hurt me both professionally and personally, to be quite frank. Yeah.
Should you have any personal knowledge of people who have been harmed or injured in efforts to cover up or conceal these extraterrestrial technology?
Yes. Personally.
Have anyone been murdered that you would that you know of or have heard of, I guess?
I have to be careful asking that question. I directed people with that knowledge to the appropriate authorities.
Mr. Grusch, what about you? What was your experience after you came forward?
Well, it's only been about 2 months or so I guess my experience has been overwhelming support from former colleagues of mine that have privately messaged me, and I do appreciate that. But I do have knowledge of active planned reprisal activity against myself and other colleagues, and it's very, very upsetting to me.
Coming from where?
Certain senior leadership at previous agencies I was associated with. And that's all I'll say publicly, but I can provide more details in a closed environment. There were certain colleagues of mine that were brutally administratively attacked, and it actually makes me very upset as a leader to see that happen to other coworkers and actually superiors of mine over the last 3 years.
How do you account for that response? That seems like a bizarre response.
I call it administrative terrorism. That's their quiver, their tool in the toolbox to silence people, especially the career government service cares about their career, cares about their clearance, their reputation to climb the ladder. And when you threaten that career path, a lot of people back off. But I'm here to represent those people.
In the last couple of years, have you had incidences that have caused you to be in fear for your life for addressing these issues?
Yes, personally. Yeah.
This is a big day for anyone who believes passionately in this subject of UFOs, who believes that there is something going on. Whether you believe that UFOs represent extraterrestrial or interdimensional beings, whether you think this is a very secret, advanced American or Western project, or potentially even the Chinese, I don't know what your theory is. I flip back and forth every single day. But you know what I love about this? It's not that I believe everything David Grusch is saying, although personally I am inclined to believe that he has seen something that has made him behave this way. It's not that. What I find wonderful about today is that we are giving a sharp stick to the right people, and that they are being pointed in a direction where it's believed there is further evidence. That is that gradually we are moving from a situation where we are having to speculate on what is underneath all of this madness to a point where we can actually start to poke at the corners of the covers. We can actually start to get a sense of what's going on under there. Who knows what they're going to find underneath the covers? I couldn't tell you, and I try not to believe anything too much myself these days, but perhaps over the next number of years, we'll find something out. And whatever the answer is, it's going to be absolutely fascinating. Because if this is human technology, there are human beings who exist amongst us or with us somehow who have advanced so far beyond our ordinary capabilities that we may as well consider them to be aliens. Thanks very much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this short, sharp, succinct summary and that you're equally fascinated. I want to know what you think. Do you trust these people? Do you trust what's going on? Do you believe that David Grusch is telling the truth? And if you don't, what do you think is really going on? I'm always fascinated to read your comment. Please like, share, subscribe, blah, 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 all that stuff. Really helps the channel. If you found this valuable, I would really appreciate that in return. If you don't want to do it, that is absolutely fine. I'm still thrilled that you took the time to watch. My name's Jason Somoza. This has been Jason Somoza's Ufology Moment. And until next time, cheers.